He was the closest thing to Prince Charming.
Benita Alexander, a seasoned television producer, thought she'd met the love of her life, a handsome doctor.
He was the world's most famous surgeon.
That George Clooney type of feel, sexy.
Who swept her off her feet.
It was like living a fairy tale.
But the man of her dreams was actually spinning a web of lies that she and countless others were caught up in.
This is a man who has people's lives in his hands. A highly regarded doctor and surgeon. People could be dying.
Benita first met Dr. Paolo Macchirini when she was assigned a story about his groundbreaking work doing synthetic trachea transplants.
Breakthrough, a report that a doctor has found a way to grow a new windpipe.
Are hailing a surgical first that could offer new hope to others.
He developed a technique to replace the patient's trachea with a plastic tube seeded with the patient's own stem cells. One of his patients, a toddler from Korea.
That's right, good girl.
Named Hannah, who was being brought to the U.S. so that Dr. Maccarini could operate on her.
She was born with no trachea at all, so she had been hospitalized from the day she was born. She was going to be the youngest person ever to get one of these artificial tracheas.
Dr. Maccarini held a post at the prestigious Karolinska Institute in Sweden, which hands out the Nobel Prize in medicine.
Did I think he was going to be a part of my life? No, absolutely not.
Until she started falling for him.
We met the afternoon before we were going to sit down and interview him. And it was the weirdest thing. He comes around the corner, he looks right at me, and in that second, something happened. I mean, I got this sort of chill through my body.
Benita was a reporter doing a documentary on Paolo, but she couldn't stop her feelings for him.
It was really difficult because I was falling in love with somebody that I was doing a story about, which you are not supposed to do. If you get involved with somebody, your objectivity could be compromised. And I agonized about it.
Benita was divorced. Paolo said he was separated from his wife, but the divorce wasn't legal yet. Still, she agreed to go to Italy with him.
On the way to Venice, the motorboat.
He was taking me to Venice. The whole trip was so romantic. I mean, just over-the-top romance. Everything. The food, the flowers, the dinners.
She had finally met the person that she was supposed to be with.
He would record these little video love messages to me.
I cannot stop thinking at you, and especially proud that you are mine. I love you so very much.
I was very hesitant to introduce Paolo to my daughter. I wanted to be absolutely sure that this was someone that I wanted to keep in my life. She thought he was amazing. Wooing her was as important to him as wooing me.
With these two beautiful girls.
We were his princesses. It was like living a fairy tale.
Paolo proposed at Christmas, giving her a ring he said cost $100,000. Paolo often visited New York, where Benita and her daughter lived, but never stayed long, telling Benita he had to perform surgeries around the world.
That's when he told me that there was this kind of clandestine network who are on call basically for these people. He told me that it included the Clintons and that he and Bill were tight, that they were good friends and that they played tennis together. He adds the Obamas to this mix.
There's only one way to solve these challenges.
As part of this VIP network, he had become one of Pope Francis's private consulting doctors.
It sounds crazy, I know, but if anybody sort of fit that bill, Paolo fit that bill.
Benita says Paolo told her he wanted to plan their wedding in Italy and was adamant they be married in the Catholic Church.
And I said, look, aside from the fact that I'm not Catholic, the Catholic Church is not going to marry two divorcees.
Paolo told her he would use his personal connection to the Pope to see what he could do.
He said he offered to marry us himself. And I said, oh, the Pope doesn't marry people. No, I'm serious. He wants to marry us because we're both divorcees. He thinks we're the perfect poster couple to push forward his forward-thinking agenda to change the Catholic Church. I looked at that and I thought, okay, maybe it's not completely out of the question. From that moment on, I felt like my head was spinning, and it didn't stop spinning.
Benita says that Paolo told her that Andrea Bocelli and John Legend would be performing at the wedding.
I mean, the guest list just kept growing and growing.
The Beckhams, the Obamas.
The Clintons.
The Clintons.
For some reason, Russell Crowe was on the list.
But while the wedding planning was kicking into high gear, Benita said Paolo was becoming increasingly tense about work.
He had been talking to me for some time about how there were people that were against him and his enemies.
And one morning, she woke up and read in the New York Times that colleagues at the Karolinska Institute were accusing him of scientific misconduct.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why didn't you tell me?
Paolo headed up a research lab at the Karolinska Institute, one of Europe's top-ranked medical universities, and had performed 3 tracheosurgeries at its affiliated hospital. Several doctors who worked alongside Paolo, some tending to the patients he had implanted with new tracheas, started voicing concerns about the new procedure. In particular, they took issue with the way he'd written them up in medical journals.
We went through 6 of Paolo Macchiarini's articles. We could show that there was lies and falsifications.
They filed an official complaint with the university.
This was bad. It was all over the news. He was insanely stressed. I've never seen him like that. He was adamant that this was going to go away, and there was no basis to these allegations, and it was just these jealous colleagues of his that were out to get him, and I believed he was being unfairly maligned.
On top of that, little Hannah, the subject of Benita's documentary, never made it out of the hospital after her surgery.
I was devastated. I had become very close to her family. It was awful. Paolo was really depressed.
But they were still forging ahead with the wedding.
Cheers.
And Benita and her daughter made plans to move to Barcelona to live with Paolo. Benita quit her television job and pulled her daughter out of her private school.
This is the place where you and I will live for the rest of our life. I love you.
I had asked a group of girlfriends to go to the spa. I'm walking up to the reception desk to pay, and I pull out my phone. I see this email. The subject line just says the Pope. And it's from a colleague, and it says, we need to talk. And it has a link to an article that shows that the Pope is not going to be in Rome on July 11th. He's going to be in South America. I actually literally almost physically fell over.
Benita started investigating Paolo, the way she would investigate her stories at work. She also hired private investigators in the US and Italy.
I call the castle where he says he's booked all these rooms, and everybody's saying they never heard of him. I called the restaurant that he said was catering the wedding. They say they've never heard of anything.
Benita managed to get the Vatican to verify Paolo was not the Pope's personal doctor. She called in a Clinton contact and found out they'd never heard of Paolo. And she couldn't find any evidence that the Obamas knew him either. On top of it all, heartbreak. Just weeks before their wedding, the Italian investigator found records that Paolo and his wife were still married. Coming up, the shocking discovery and a confrontation.
I knew there was something hidden in that house in Barcelona, and I thought the only way I'm going to find out what it is to go there and for him to not know that I'm going there.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.